Hello friends, let's discuss gender awareness. Here's the first question in today's session, and I remember the promise I made in the previous session regarding the NPS stuff. Here's the question that we said that we'll discuss. Which of the following categories of assets is not a non-performing asset? So before we discuss what are these types, let's understand what's an NPA. Okay, an NPA, please write this: non-performing asset. Okay, a loan, sorry, or you could simply say a loan where the principal or interest or both, or we should always say or, where the principal or interest or both are not repaid within 90 days from the due date within 90 days from the due date. So this is an NPA. Let's say I borrowed money from a bank. The bank would wait for me for 90 days to repay either the principal or the interest or both before it would turn that, technically, before that loan would be classified as a non-performing asset. Now what the bank lends me is its asset, its money. It expects the asset to perform something for it, earn interest. When I don't repay the principal or the interest, then the bank terms it non-performing asset. That's how the term comes actually. Now, depending on the period of non-performing asset, there are three major types. We could start with substandard and doubtful, and then we'll go to loss asset. Please write. I'll give you some notes on each of this. We'll start with substandard asset. Dash NPA for a period of less than or equal to 12 months. Less than or equal to 12 months. So let's say I don't repay the money, the bank would call it a substandard asset for about 12 months from the due date. Okay, there's an NPA, but a substandard NPA. That's what it means. Next point, doubtful asset. Look at choice 3. Doubtful asset dash NPA that has remained in substandard category for a period of more than 12 months. A doubtful asset is an NPA that has remained in the substandard asset category for more than 12 months. So below 12 months it's substandard, but more than 12 months it is doubtful asset. Leave one line space, write the last one, loss asset, LOSS, loss asset. Okay. Dash considered uncollectible. This is how you spell uncollectible. Considered uncollectible, comma, although there may be some recovery value. Although there may be some recovery value. Full stop. Now, often we find that banks have lent money, it's not come back, they turn them there's such loans, NPAs. What's the scale of NPAs in India? Now, we have a lot of very famous defaulters, Nirav Modi, Vijay Mallya, we have Totem Puri, family. I mean, they have borrowed hundreds and hundreds of crores of rupees, but have not repaid. Now, to take it further, you could write this. In March 2020, yes, this is Rajya Sabha information. In March 2020, NPAs amounted to NPAs. You should always write NPA in caps, and if you're writing NPAs in plural, a small s, okay, without an apostrophe. NPAs in March 2020, NPAs of all commercial banks, of all public sector banks, stood at 10.36 lakh crore rupees. 10.36 lakh crore rupees. 10.36 lakh crore rupees. Which means that people had borrowed this money but have not repaid. People are like that. Yeah? Full stop. In September 2020, this had come down to 8.08 lakh crore. Sorry. 8.08 lakh crore. Okay. So now I want to tell you something. This is the latest information that we have that comes from the Government of India. September 2020. 8.08 lakh crore. But remember one thing, friends, this number will increase given that first there was a moratorium and then there were a lot of defaults. A lot of people have suffered major financial losses, major income losses. Companies, small, medium companies, you have large businesses, small, medium businesses, everyone's. I mean, all kinds of businesses have shut down. A substantial number of these businesses had to shut down because of the COVID thing. There wasn't business, and for almost 6 months there wasn't business. And what happened later was that they had accumulated debts. Plus the fact that there are certain kinds of fixed costs. Rent is a fixed cost, more or less. Machinery, plant and machinery, you have a lot of companies borrow machinery, okay, they take the machinery on lease, so they have to pay the rent. You have employee cost and all, so a lot of businesses had to close down operations, because it was unsustainable for them to be able to pay the fixed cost as well as other variable costs. It was quite tough, and that's how the numbers are likely to increase. The NPA numbers are likely to increase after this. The end of financial year, we are in April now. So when the final numbers for 2020-21 financial year for banks come out, we will see a substantial jump in NPAs in the case of Indian banks. Okay, so leave one line space, write special mention account dash an asset that shows, or if you are writing in plural, assets that show symptoms of bad asset quality. In the first 90 days itself, in the first 90 days itself, or before it being classified, as NPA, before it being classified as NPA. Okay, before it being classified as NPA. So there is something called special mention account. I mean, it could go bad is what the bank tells us. So they make a certain provision for it. So we have standard assets. I mean, these assets don't go bad. People, the borrowers pay on time. They pay both the principal and the interest on time. So these are standard assets. But then again, non-performing assets, we mentioned these are of three types: substandard, doubtful, and loss assets. And then in the end, we mentioned special mention accounts, which may go wrong even before they are classified as NPA. After 90 days period. After the expiry of the first 90 days, the banks make certain provisions for this. So this was a fairly simple discussion that we had on NPAs. But remember, NPAs are likely to increase, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on. Banks. See, when NPAs go up, the unfortunate thing is the banks lend depositors money. You go to a bank, you put money in the bank. That is the money that banks lend. Okay, and when they lend this money and the money does not come back, it puts an additional pressure on the bank to make some provision. I mean, where will they get that money from? How will they repay you? Of course, they may repay you from after collecting from other depositors and all that, but it still puts pressure because it's a loss of money for them. And the Indian banks have lost thousands of crores of rupees because of crooks, both outside the banking system and within. When I say within, there have been a lot of bankers who have been arrested for being hand in glove with borrowers like Nirav Modi and Vijay Mallya. See, these are people whose antics are visible to us because these were high-flying guys. Their lifestyles were always in news. But there are thousands of people, thousands of borrowers about who we would not have heard of. This is how the number has come to 8.08 lakh crore rupees. How do you think otherwise banks would have run up such huge NPAs? There are thousands of borrowers who are not repaid. The scientists of which country have developed the world's first COVID-19 vaccine for animals? Now, we have had some vaccines. A total of 171 vaccines are in phase 1 trial. About 18 are in phase 2 and 43 are in phase 2 and about 18 are in phase 3. There are a lot of other vaccines that are coming up. So I think the more the vaccines, the greater will be the availability, and of course it is good for everyone because things are pretty bad in India these days. Pretty bad, my friends. So which country has come up with a vaccine for the world's animals? That they could get coronavirus? Well, Russia has come up with this. What is the name of the vaccine? You could write this. Carnivac. Carnivac-CoV. Carnivac-CoV- COVID vaccine for animals. COVID vaccine for animals. Developed by Gamaleya Research Institute. Gamaleya Research Institute. This is a full name of epidemiology and biotechnology and all that. Keep it out. Gamaleya Research Institute, Russia. This is the same institute that brought out the Sputnik vaccine for COVID. See, as of today, there have been pretty few cases of COVID spreading to animals. It has spread. It's not that it hasn't spread. And Russia has had 2 cases, both in the case of cats. 2 cats have had COVID, but the symptoms have been, the researchers say that symptoms in animals are much milder. And a few months back, Netherlands and Denmark had reported that a certain mutant strain of coronavirus disease had been detected in certain animals there, poultry animals, and they had to kill thousands of them, mink cats kind of thing basically. So they killed thousands of them because we don't know whether they could spread from animals to humans. As for now, there is pretty little research on this. So we'll do one thing. Whenever we find a question on vaccines, we'll maybe in each of these sessions, I'll bring in one vaccine per session. Okay. So this is for animals, and let's look at humans. One vaccine, you write Moderna. This is a company in the US. It's a very famous company, closely held company. Okay, right. Moderna dash COVID vaccine dash code named mRNA 1273. mRNA 1273. This is the actual name, technical name of the vaccine. So it's a RNA based vaccine. Okay, so code name mRNA 1273. So where is Moderna headquartered? In a place called Cambridge, Massachusetts, US. So Cambridge town, Massachusetts state, and United States nation. Cambridge, Massachusetts, United States. Dash CEO Stefan Bancel. Okay, that's the name of the CEO, Stefan Bancel. So first we mentioned the name of the vaccine for animals being impacted by coronavirus, and now we mentioned one for humans as well. Next, along with India, which country has taken part in the 11th edition of the military exercise named Vajra Prahar in Himachal Pradesh recently? Vajra Prahar and Yudh Abhyas are two of the military exercises that we do with the US. So Vajra Prahar and Yudh Abhyas, you could write this. Just one more military exercise. Let's look at nomadic elephant. This is with Mongolia. Okay, it is a country in Central Asia. So we have had nomadic elephant military exercise with Mongolia. One more, I'll bring in more about the choices. Look at Japan. Japan's mentioned, the first one. With Japan, we have had one military exercise called Dharma Guardian. Okay? Yeah. So, Himachal Pradesh is mentioned here. Himachal Pradesh's capital, as you know, is Shimla, and its chief minister is Jai Ram Thakur. Yeah. Jai Ram Thakur. Next. Veteran actor and Padma Shri awardee Sashikala passed away recently. She was associated with Hindi films. Sashikala Sehgal was her name, full name. and she acted in a lot of films. She was active for almost 65 years, my friends. And she passed away at the age of 88, if I'm not wrong. Okay. And Padma Shri she received in 2007. Padma Shri is the fourth highest civilian award in India. We have Bharat Ratna, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan, and Padma Shri. Okay, so that's one. And more. Okay, couple of films that she has acted in. I have watched a lot of her films. Yeah, you could write Aarti, one film. Sujata, very, very good film. Sujata. And you could also write one film for which she won an award for Best Supporting Actress, Gumrah. Okay, chali. M. Venkaiah Naidu, the Vice President of India, recently presented the Kalinga Ratna Samman for 2021 to Biswa Bhushan Harichandan for his contribution to literature. Biswa Bhushan Harichandan is the current governor of Andhra Pradesh. Kalinga, as you know, is the ancient name of the modern state of Odisha. Kalinga, Utkal, today Odisha, the land of Odia-speaking people. So we have Biswa Bhushan Harichandan, who is governor of Andhra Pradesh. And if you would look at choices, governors only. Okay, before that, why don't we write the names of one or two odd, I do not know anything about Sri Harichandan, so I would only tell you what I read somewhere. Okay, a couple of books you could write. His autobiography, the name of his autobiography. Name of autobiography is Sangharsha Sari Nahi. I do not know how to read it because see, this could be a native tongue thing. Sangharsha Sari Nahi. That's the autobiography of Sri Harichandan. And one book, if you want to write another of his books, he is a historian, so he wrote this book, Paika, Mutiny. Mutiny, as you know, is a rebellion. Paika, Mutiny. So this is autobiography, and this is a book, normal book story actually, of the Paika Mutiny. Uttar Pradesh's governor, let's look at these names of governors. Anandiben Patel, ex-chief minister of Gujarat. Anandiben Patel. Next, Punjab, VP Singh Badnore. VP Singh Badnore. Kerala's chief minister is Arif Muhammad Khan. I'm sorry. Arif. Oh, I'm so sorry. I misspelled it, my friends. Arif Muhammad Khan. Arif Muhammad Khan for Kerala. And as far as that Odisha is concerned, Professor Ganeshi Lal. Professor Ganeshi Lal. Chaliye. Which of the following statements about Vietnam are true? The capital of Vietnam is Hanoi. Yes, it is. Nguyen, Xuan. We read it as Nguyen. It's read it as Vinh. Vinh Xuan Phu is the country's new president. Yes. Pham Minh Che is the new prime minister. Is been the prime minister for some time now. Vietnam is a single party state. Yes, it's a unitary, what we call, a single party communist state, totalitarian state it is. I'll come to that. Vietnam's currency is dong, so all of these are right. Let me tell you, this is Vietnam. We are in India, our country here. We have Burma, Myanmar, Thailand down there, Cambodia. This is Laos, and this is Vietnam. From here you can see that it's a very thinly wedged country. between the Pacific and the countries of Laos and Cambodia. And you see this here. The biggest city, the capital is Hanoi, but the biggest city is Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh was the father of Vietnam. You could say one of the biggest leader of their freedom's movement. So they were ruled by France till about 1954. Till 1954, France. Pretty much the year that they left Pondicherry in India, the French also left what is called the Indochina Empire. See, I'll just draw the lines here, okay? This was the French Empire. The countries of Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia were together called Indochina. This is the Indochina French Empire. Okay, so 1954, Vietnam got independence from France, and then what happened was that they kind of I'm so sorry, I bungled up actually. 1945 they got independence from France. Before we got independence, they got independence from France. In 1954, this country split into North Vietnam and South Vietnam. Okay, North went communist, South was a democratic country, a constitutional monarchy. There was a Raja and all that, and these two went to war. The North was supported by the Chinese and the South was supported by the Americans. The Americans came here in 1955, okay, soon after the split. Till 1974, they were here. And this Vietnam War, it's called, is the single biggest war in America, one of the longest wars America has been seriously involved in. I mean, it's a war that America lost big time. Okay. Finally, the North Vietnamese Communist forces ran down south after the Americans left. Yeah, and what happened was that they unified the country in 76, if I'm not wrong. They unified the country, and today it's a single country and it's a single party state. The only party allowed to exist in Vietnam is the Communist Party. Okay, and the leader of the Communist Party is the president. The current secretary is the president, Vinh Xuan Phu. I would suggest you watch some films on Vietnam. Okay, this Vietnam War that happened between 55 and 74, really good films. There's a movie called Platoon. It won multiple Oscars in 1987, if I'm not wrong, 87. There is a movie called Full Metal Jacket. It's a terrific film. Full Metal Jacket. Why I would suggest movies is that when you watch a film, you get to know the horrors of war, how the war happened actually on the ground. Okay, and the most famous of all Vietnam wars, famous in popular culture, is this movie called Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now. There are two parts, but the first part is what I'm talking about. Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse means Judgment Day, the end of the world. Watch. Terrific films. I for one watch a lot of films, and when you know history, it becomes that much easier for us to understand the movies basically. So it's like you know about the India's our country's freedom struggle. You have heard of the great Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev Thapar, and Rajaram, Rajguru. You have heard of them. Because you have heard of them, because you know about their actions and all that, the movies made on them are easy to understand for us. Okay, there are two movies, one starring Ajay Devgan, the other starring what is his name, Sunny Deol, I think. They were they came around the same time actually, so they become easy for us to understand because we knew the story behind it. That's why watch films. Some part you will understand that way, and the rest for the part you read. I know it's tough to read, but you should read, my friends. Yeah, life is long. We got to be knowledgeable. Under the Stand Up India scheme, banks have sanctioned more than 25,000 crore rupees to over 1.14 lakh accounts. Which of the following statements about the scheme are true? Well, all of them are true. So I'm going to give you some notes on the Stand Up scheme. Please write this. Stand Up India scheme. Please write. Stand Up India scheme. Now, the 3 points are already here. You write the first point. The scheme was launched by central government in April 2016. After that, I'll give you dope. Okay. Next point. A loan between rupees 10 lakh and rupees 1 crore. A loan between rupees 10 lakh and 1 crore is 1 crore to at least one scheduled caste, comma, one scheduled tribe, and at least one woman borrower, and at least one woman borrower per bank branch for setting up a greenfield enterprise. It's mentioned here, greenfield enterprise. Full stop. Write this. Next point. A greenfield enterprise is a new enterprise started by either the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or woman borrower. I am putting everything in singular. Woman borrower. Okay, full stop. Next point. The greenfield enterprise may be in manufacturing, services, agriculture allied sector, or trading. You can put a comma before or trading sector. Agriculture allied activities are plantation, horticulture, floriculture, pisciculture, all that stuff. Growing vegetables, fruits, fishes, stuff like that. Flowers. Full stop. Next. The entrepreneur means, you can write this word here. The person who starts a venture, business person. The entrepreneur should be above 18 years of age. Above 18 years of age. should be above 18 years of age. Full stop. Next point. The entrepreneur should not be in default to any bank or financial institution. Should not be in default to any bank or financial institution. So if I borrow, I should not have defaulted in, means technically I should not have missed my payments. Next, the rate of interest on such loan shall be the lowest in that applicable category. So depending on what category the person is applying from, SC, ST or woman, different banks have different interest in that. So lowest rate of interest is charged. Last point. The repayment period is 7 years. The repayment period is 7 years with maximum moratorium of 18 months. Maximum moratorium of 18 months. 18 months. So this is a Stand Up India scheme. Now you know everything about the scheme. Launched in April 2016. It's given to women or SC or ST entrepreneurs who want to start something of their own. And the minimum amount sanctioned is 10 lakhs. The maximum is 1 crore, that is 100 lakhs. And of course, repayment period is 7 years. Maximum extendable by 18 months. Okay, and the rate of interest is probably the lowest in that applicable category. Okay, and this kind of venture that the person could be starting in trading. It could be a trading, buying and selling kind of venture. Trading is buying and selling. It could also be in manufacturing or services, basic services kind of things. Okay, or something related to agriculture as well. So it could be just about anything as long as it is productive activity. Great schemes we have. I mean, thousands and thousands of people have benefited. Look at that. Has sanctioned more than 25,000 crore to over 1.14 lakh accounts. This is not small money. 25,000 crore. See, if if we have 1.14, they employed at least, let's say, 3 people. Then you got a lot of people being employing. And they not only earn for themselves, but they also help provide others. They also provide income to others as well. This is where entrepreneurship can help, my friends. It can help a great deal in building fortunes, in building a better, decent quality of life for a lot of people involved in productive activity. Okay, so next one. The final monetary value of the goods and services produced within geographical boundaries of a country during a specified period is known as GDP. Gross. How do you pronounce that? Gross. We don't say gross. We say gross. Gross domestic product. And friends, GDP, it is simple bhasha. Typically, specified period is 12 months, and 12-month period, a country produces goods and services. The value of all those goods and services would be called gross domestic product. Let's say we produce this phone. We produce this glass, okay, we produce this pen tablet, we produce this fan, that AC there, okay, the TV there, I mean all kinds of things, this laptop, my shirt. I'm dealing with a service. I have my service as a money value. The value of everything that is produced in this 12-month period is added up, and the final value we get in terms of monetary value is GDP. So how much is the GDP of India for 2021? This financial year, it's estimated to be about 3.04 trillion. Okay, I'll put it this way. 1 trillion is equal to 1000 billion, so 3040 billion. Why don't we take a list of the top 7 in the world, because India is 6, so 7 is a good number. So right, world's 7 biggest economies by GDP. 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 Next, what you do is you underline that and write rank country GDP in, shall we write billion or trillion? We'll write trillion. Yeah, you write in billion if you want. You're comfortable. I'll tell you both. I don't have a problem. Right. 1, United States. United States 22.6. So 22.6 is 22,600 billion. That's how it is. We mentioned 1 trillion equals 1000 billion. 3 trillion became 3000 billion. So 22 trillion will become 22,000 billion. 2, China 16.6. And those of you who are like, hey, come on, Bharat Jain is giving some numbers from the air, thin air and all that. No, these are all from the IMF. IMF estimates for 2021. IMF estimates for 2021 for this calendar year. 3, Japan. Right, it's Japan 5.3. 4, Germany 4.3. Next, 5, Britain. Great Britain, $3.12 trillion. Okay. 6, India. 3.04. Hey, it's mentioned here. 3.04. 7, France. 2.93. 2.93. Most likely by this year end we would overtake Britain. Hopefully things work. See, in the period that America produces $22.6 trillion worth of goods and services, India produces 3.04. Okay, and in the same period, China produces $16.6 trillion worth of stuff. So China's economy is more than 5 times bigger than India's. Got it? Yeah, 5 times bigger than India's. So guys, I think you got some very good data there. You would always share feedback concerning some data that you liked, you didn't like, and of course it would also help if you would leave feedback on the class itself. Over which scam, Indian bank scam, did a UK court order the extradition of the fugitive diamond merchant Nirav Modi to India? We all know this. Punjab National Bank scam. If you would want me to tell you the scam, maybe next week I can tell you the scam story. Yeah, next week I'll tell you the story, entire story of the scam, how the scam happened. I have given notes on these things. Okay, so if you would want, I will give you rather than notes, I'll tell you a story how the scam happened. If there is feedback that yes, we would like to hear the story. If there is no feedback, I won't tell you the story. It's a very simple way of looking at it. So Punjab National Bank. I think we don't have to. This guy's extradition has been approved by the US UK courts, and he is likely to be brought back to India sometime next year, not this year. Who announced the creation of SCAN, a not-for-profit entity exclusively for medical research around aging and neurological disorders, and made a financial commitment of 200 crores to fund the venture? Well, the answer is Ashok Soota. Ashok Soota. And who is Ashok Soota? Ashok Soota, my friends, is the CEO of Happiest Mind Technologies. Happiest Minds Technologies. Ashok Soota, Happiest Mind Technologies. So, who will be the joint venture partner? They're going to have 3-4 of them. The most important would be this center from, you write this, SCAN. Research partner would be Center for Brain Research. Center for Brain Research. Indian Institute of Science. Indian Institute of Science. Indian Institute of Science. चलिए एक काम करते हैं. I'm going to give you some dope on the rest of the guys also. I didn't want to give you this, but चलो मैं दे देता हूँ. N.R. Narayan Murthy is Nagavara Ramarao Narayan Murthy, co-founder and ex-chairman of ex-CEO of Infosys. So Infosys, Infi, okay. Who started Infi? Infi was started in 1981 by NRNM, that is this chap, Nagavara Ramarao Narayan Murthy. Okay, let's not take the full names, just the first names. Nandan Nilekani. No, if it won't harm you if you write. It's always a good thing to write. It's always good to know more stuff that know stuff that most people don't care. And this is a company that's a part of our life. Nandan Nilekani, and SD Shibulal. Next, Gopal Krishna, K. Gopal Krishna, K. Gopal Krishna. Then T. Dinesh. Then N.S. Raghavan. There's one more. This is the guy who left the company in 1989, Ashok Arora. NRNM, Nandan Nilekani, N.S. Raghavan, Gopal Krishna, S.D. Shibulal, T. Dinesh, and Ashok Arora. These are the guys who started Infosys. Ajim Premji is chairman emeritus of what we call Wipro Group. You could say he was a chairman for a long time, between 1966 and 2000, I think, till about last year 2019 he was a chairman emeritus. He was a chairman. Shiv Nadar, founder of, this is Wipro, founder of HCL, co-founder of HCL, okay, father of India's computer industry, Indian computer industry. Kumar Mangalam Birla, guys, is the chairman of Aditya Birla Group. This Aditya Birla owns companies like Ultratech Cement. It owns Idea Cellular. Idea means Vodafone Idea. It's the Idea part of it. You look at, Hindalco, Grasim, Novelis. It owns all these fashion brands like apparel brands like what is it, pantaloons. It owns what is this? It owns Louis Philippe, Alan Solly, Peter England. You know, these are the brands it owns. So plenty of brands, huge company. It's a massive company. It's the world's largest producer of staple viscose fiber. Good to know about these guys. They run the world. Okay. About the 2021 Sports Star Aces Awards, find the correct matches. All of them are correct, so I'm not going to discuss this. Mary Kom, as you know, is a great boxer, multiple times, multiple world championships. PV Sindhu, India's only badminton medalist at the World Cup, at the Olympics. And Vishwanathan Anand, of course, Vishwanathan Anand is chess superstar. So is MS Dhoni is a cricketing superstar. All these guys. Sushil, wrestler. So, Sushil Kumar, of course, a very famous wrestler. So, there's hardly anything for me to discuss here. There are always 4 or 5 questions in each discussion where I simply touch and go. Which state has become the first in India to provide health insurance to all its regions? Rajasthan. The scheme is called Chiranjeevi Health Insurance Scheme. Chiranjeevi Health Insurance Scheme. That's the name of the scheme. Chiranjeevi Health Insurance Scheme. Cover of 5 lakh rupees per family. Cover of 5 lakh rupees per family. It's like Ayushman Bharat. The same thing, but of course different features. Slightly different features. So, who is the Chief Minister of Rajasthan? India's largest state, Rajasthan, is run by Ashok Gehlot. Let me cap this. Ashok Gehlot. Okay, I think there's hardly anything else to discuss because we know about all this. The Chief Ministers of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu elections are happening now. Elections are due. Edappadi Palaniswamy, Haryana, Manohar Lal Khattar, Kerala, what's his name? Pinarayi Vijayan, Telangana, K. Chandrasekhar Rao. A new species of flowering plant belonging to the genus Argyria was recently discovered in South Maharashtra's Kolhapur district. This plant has been named after Sharad Pawar. Sharad Pawar is a 3-time Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Though he never completed a term, ex-Chief Minister of Maharashtra, ex-Chief Minister, Defense Minister of India, ex-Agriculture Minister, ex-Consumer Affairs Minister. Plenty of ministries. Very powerful chap. You could say that he is the biggest leader in Maharashtra. And the full name is Argyria. This is the full name. Sharad Chandraji. This is the name of the flower. Argyria Sharad Chandraji. Okay, this was found in this Kolhapur Jilla in a particular place called Alam Prabhu Dev Rai. Don't worry, that's enough. So 1 and 4 and 5 have been Chief Ministers. In fact, the 4th guy is the current Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Balasaheb Thackeray, as you know, is founder of the Shiv Sena. And at one time, he was the most powerful chap in Maharashtra. Very powerful political leader who swore by Hindutva. Which country has set a new record for the most consecutive one-day international wins in both men's and women's cricket? Australia. It's actually women's team that had won that. Okay, nothing much to discuss. This is good. Which organization has published its new report titled The World in 2030? Well, UNESCO. UNESCO is headquartered in Paris, and those of you who don't know the full form, United Nations Educational, Scientific and cultural organization. I repeat, United Nations educational, scientific and cultural organization. It's a UN specialized agency, my friends. Okay, headquartered in Paris, and its secretary is Audrey Azoulay. Audrey Azoulay is from France. It's from France. Before I discuss the report, just tell you, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. It's headquartered in Geneva. Okay, Geneva is in Switzerland, as you know, and it's run by a guy called Filippo Grandi, who is from Italy. Filippo Grandi from Italy. Okay, Filippo Grandi from Italy. Now, I think we mentioned UNICEF in the past as well, but anyway, let me repeat. I'm not going to discuss 4 and 5 we mentioned in the previous session. UNICEF, my friends, is the United Nations Children's Fund. United Nations Children's Fund. It's headed by Henrietta Fore, F-O-R-E. It is in New York City. The head office is in New York City, and it's headed by Henrietta Fore, who is a US citizen. US citizen. Okay guys, let me tell you about this report. Just write subheading. Let's clear this, my friends. Okay. UNESCO, the World in 2030 report. That should be the title. Next, first point. Around 15,000 people were surveyed. To assess the most pressing or most urgent, that's the right word, most urgent problems facing the world in 2030. Full stop. World in 2030. Next point. These most pressing challenges. See that the notes that I'm giving from now on, the first point was easy to understand. The points that I'm going to give now have come from the report itself. I've gone through the report. I have the report on the... See, every report by now you would have understood that I actually go through the report. It's fun. It takes 15-20 minutes, but it's good to learn. Next. Most pressing challenges for peaceful societies, including specific worries, WORRIES, including specific worries, comma, including specific worries, people have, including specific worries, people have, and solutions, SOLUTIONS, solutions needed to overcome them, to overcome them. Full stop. To overcome them. Full stop. So what are the most pressing problems? Next slide. 67% of respondents, 67% chose climate change and loss of biodiversity as the most pressing problem. Full stop. Next point. The next three are violence and conflict, in brackets 44%. You write like this, okay? Next three are violence and conflict 44%, comma, inequality and discrimination, inequality and discrimination in brackets 43%, comma, and lack of food, comma, water and housing, lack of food, water and housing, in brackets 42%. So 43, 44, 44, 43, 42. Easy. So the most pressing problem, the most urgent problem facing today's world, in the world today, is violence and conflict, which was loss of biodiversity and climate change, opted by about 2/3 of the respondents. Next came in violence. In the second place was violence and conflict at 44%. Then in the third place was inequality and discrimination, which is a global issue these days. Unfortunately, it's been there for ages and nothing much is happening about it. In the third place was inequality and racial discrimination. The fourth was the lack of food, water, and of course housing. So major problems the world's facing. So when you read these kinds of reports, you get to know how the world's looking at the world today. I mean, how do they look at the future? Are they being hopeful? Are they being despondent? And you can see that the survey shows that people are quite not so enthusiastic about the future. They want a better future, but most people know that not much is going to change in the near future unless something radical happens. Okay, here's the next one. As per the National Savings Institute data, which state has been the highest contributor to small savings collection for nearly 2 decades beginning 2000? You see there, West Bengal, you see that purple thing, man. It's, where is this? Yeah, purple, you see this everywhere. everywhere the numbers for West Bengal have been rising, steadily rising. I mean, see this, every year it's topped. Every single year it's been that leader, my friends. Very good. I think the pen is not moving around. Okay, anyway, just keep it as, yeah. So West Bengal purple. Now you may be wondering, see, because the savings rate is extraordinarily high in West Bengal, this is, you could see this as one of the reasons why the central government had to roll back the decrease in the decision to decrease interest rates on small savings. Now you know everything is political. So at least in light of this data, while this is the latest data that we have, and this is from the NSS, National Savings Institute, NSI. I took it from this newspaper website called The Print. Okay, I found it to be pretty interesting, and on this basis you could look at political decisions being made now. Okay, see, if the interest rate, the interest rates on small savings are slashed, the people of West Bengal won't be happy, and who would make that decision? The BJP government as head of the coalition at the center. So the opposition parties would have, TMC would have an issue, to beat the BJP with. So they rolled back. I find it very funny. I don't know, it's funny or weird, but it is there. In its first investment in the Indian healthcare sector, the National Investment Infrastructure Fund Limited has recently announced an investment of 2100 crore in Bangalore-based Manipal hospitals. I'm not going to discuss this now. Okay. So if you look at 1 and 3, they're mostly in Hyderabad actually. Whom the following has been appointed as the Revenue Secretary recently? Tarun Bajaj. Only one person here I found is the full secretary, the others are either joint or additional secretary. So if you look at Tarun Bajaj, he is the Revenue Secretary, and Ajay Seth, the first guy, you could write, is the Economic Affairs Secretary. Economic Affairs Secretary. Which of the following is false with respect to the liquidity adjustment facility? In fact, none of them would be false. None of them would be false, my friends. This facility is extended to the commercial banks. Yes, it is. In fact, I think I don't have to, spend time on this because it's already explained there. I mean, the way we wrote there, it's all easy to understand. Okay, it's like a short tap. It's like borrowing to bridge a temporary mismatch in revenues. And the government is always in need of money to spend, to meet expenditure. So it will borrow money. Okay, that's the idea. In its latest World Economic Outlook report, which international institution has recently upgraded its growth projection to 12.5% for the current financial year. The IMF came out with this, but 12.5% is budget for an increase in inflation. So inflation is likely to be around 4%. So growth is likely to be around 8.5%. In the previous session I mentioned that 12.5% in this case is nominal. On paper it's a growth, but you have to deduct the increase in price. The increase in price is inflation. If inflation rate is 4%, deduct 4% from 12.5% growth, you get the real growth rate, that is 8%, 8.5%. Since we've been mentioning 1 and 3 quite frequently, I'll just bring in something about choice 2. The head office of New Development Bank, it's also called BRICS Bank. 5 countries, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China came together, and South Africa came together to start this bank. So BRICS Bank, it's also called, and ladies and gentlemen, it's headquartered in a place called Shanghai. It's headquartered in Shanghai, and its current president is Marcos Troizos, who is from Brazil. Okay. Then we have, there is an error. It should be Shanghai. Asian Development Bank, Manila. Head office is in Manila, and its president is Masat Sugu Asakawa from Japan. Asian Infrastructure Bank, headquartered in Beijing, and it's headed by Jin Likan, who is from China. Okay, that's about it, guys. I think very good info. Ismail Omar Guelleh is re-elected as the president of Dash for a fifth term in the first week of April 2021. Djibouti, that's the answer. This is Djibouti. You see this tiny country here? This is Djibouti here. This one. This is Djibouti. Now, if you see, this is to the entrance. It's on the entrance to the Red Sea, or exit. You can see. Let's look at the entrance. Okay. Now, this country's capital is Djibouti City. You could write this: Djibouti dash capital Djibouti City. This capital is also called Djibouti City. And this is the president, Ismail Omar Guelleh. President, fifth term, dictator. He won 98% of the vote. Is it likely? Unless he is a very benevolent guy. Its population is the smallest on African mainland. Mainland means without islands. Without these islands of Mauritius, Madagascar, Seychelles, and Comoros and all these countries, Saint Kitts, Sao Tome and Principe. This is African mainland. On African mainland, it's the least populous country. Less than 10 lakhs, about 9.2 lakh. This is the president, and the currency is franc. It was ruled by France for a long time. Not that franc is the currency of France today. Djibouti is run by Ismail Guelleh. The currency is franc. Okay. The biggest source of revenue for this country are its military bases. Not its military bases. It is home to military bases. See, the US has a military base. France has long had a military base. Japan has a military base. China has a military base. China pays $20 million in rent to Djibouti. France and Japan each pay $30 million. America pays $63 million in rent for using that area. Annual rent for using that Djiboutian land to run a military base. Okay, I think Ethiopia, we looked at it in pretty recent times, so we'll just skip this. Somalia, this is Somalia, my friends. This is Somalia. The capital, as you can see, is Mogadishu. And the president is Mohammed. This is spelling, okay? Mohammed Abdullahi. Mohammed, that's a full name. M-A-M. Mohammed Abdullahi Mohammed. And the currency is Somalia, shilling. The currency is shilling. Currency is shilling. Then we have Egypt. चलो लिख देते हैं Egypt के बारे में. Cairo. This is Egypt. You can see this. It owns the Suez Canal. Cairo. The president is Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is a dictator. The currency is pound. P-O-U-N-D. Pound. The currency is pound. Egyptian pound. Anything else that you would need to know? Ethiopia we've been discussing. Chalo, Eritrea we will discuss. Eritrea. Let me clear this entire thing here. Eritrea's capital is Asmara. Very tiny country run by a dictator. Asmara. Isaias Afwerki is the president of this country, dictator. Isaias Afwerki, and the currency is Nakfa. Currency is Nakfa. Okay. Chalo. Which country's armed forces took part in the 72nd Republic Day Parade of India? Bangladesh. I think we discussed this in the past, so we will not go there. Okay, Bangladesh. Aslan Karatsev won the men's singles title at the 2021 Dubai Tennis Championship. It's a very rich tournament. It's a $2 million plus, $2 million plus tournament. He belongs to Russia. This is Russian guy. Okay. Who did he defeat? He defeated, I remember, Lloyd Harris of Republic of South Africa, RSA. Lot of places आप काफ़ी जगहों देखेंगे RSA लिखा होता है, ऐसे नहीं लिखा होता, RSA, Republic of South Africa. So Karatsev won the Dubai Men's Championship singles title after defeating Lloyd Harris of RSA. And just for fun, we can write the capitals: Tbilisi, Yerevan. I don't want to leave anything out. Yerevan, France, Russia, Belgium, Brussels. Would you like to know the names of the women's? Okay, right. Women's singles title. Winner Garbin Muguruza, Spain. Garbin Muguruza, Spain. Next, runner-up Barbora Krejcikova. Barbara Krejcikova, runner-up. Oh, who do they belong to? Okay, she belongs to Czech Republic. And I mentioned this lady belongs to Spain. Which of the following is true about NFS? National Financial Switch. Designed, developed and deployed by the IDRBT. IDRBT is the Institute for Development Research in Banking and Technology. Institute for Development Research and Banking in Banking Technology. Development and Research in Banking Technology. Hyderabad. It's in Hyderabad. It's an RBI body. Hyderabad. It's run by the National Payments Council of India. National Payments Corporation of India. National Payments Corporation of India. So it's already mentioned, its purpose is to interconnect the ATMs in the country. As of today, its network is 2.37 lakh ATMs. It has connected 2.37 lakh ATMs throughout the country, my friends. It's the largest network in India. ATM is automated teller machine. Yeah. According to a recent publication of the Geological Survey of India, which region of India is home to 428 species of birds? Sundarbans. Sundarban is a 10,000 square kilometer forest it's a mangrove forest, and you would find it here. About 6,000 kilometers is in Bangladesh, and about 4,000 is in India. See, look at this. Amazing, isn't it? This is all delta. You see, Ganga becomes Padma when it enters Bangladesh. Brahmaputra becomes Jamuna. It becomes Jamuna. These two rivers, Padma and Jamuna, merge and they become Meghna. And I'm not kidding, this is true. Ganga becomes Padma, Brahmaputra becomes Jamuna, and Padma and Jamuna meet, merge, they become Meghna. And this is, you see the delta there? You find the Royal Bengal tiger here. Amazing. It's one of the world's largest mangrove forests. On Google Earth, just go around this place. You'll find it fascinating. I've done that. Oh, this is the last question. Oh, I think we spent close to close to 1.5 hours. Thanks for being here. Stay curious and make sure that you give us feedback as to how this went. Would you like us to share more? Please put in a word as to if you would want me to discuss. I'm your teacher Bharat. If you would want me to discuss a few more things, bring them to us through email and everything. I'll take care of such things. Thanks for being here. Stay curious.